everyone. Thank you very much, my colleague from the Faculty of Liberal Arts from Ransit University for very nice introduction about me.
Yes.
And before I start my talk, I would like to say thank you very much to the University of Ransit, the Faculty of Liberal Arts, the Dean, Vice Dean, and my colleague from the Faculty of Liberal Arts for giving me the chance to be here with you today to share one of my research findings related to motivation and the motivation of our school students in the context of the Mekong Delta in Vietnam. Yes, let me start with the reasons why our students get demotivated in their English classes. Yes, I would like to introduce a little bit about the School of Foreign Languages at Cần Thơ University. Cần Thơ University is one of the 10 providers of in-service teacher professional development for the whole country, Vietnam, and especially for the Mekong Delta. So whenever I am in different kinds of meetings, talking about improving the quality of learning English language and culture, I hear many comments and remarks from different English teachers saying that our students are not demotivated enough to learn the language. So what they say stir my curiosity and trying me to get insights into why many students are not motivated to learn the language. As we all understand that motivation is one of the most important factors involved in teaching and learning English, and it may decide whether we are successful or not successful in teaching language and culture. So what are the reasons for our students to get demotivated in learning English in their English lessons? So as we all know that motivation includes the desirable attitudes and the desire to achieve the learning objective, and the students attempt to reach the goal that they set. So in short, we may say that motivation is the internal drive that pushes and drives someone to do things and to achieve their goals. So when we talk about motivation, so in light of Gardner 1985, we usually describe motivation in two types. The first one is interactive motivation. Interactive motivation refers to the favorable attitude towards the target language community. So in this case, if our students have all positive attitudes to the language, to the culture of the target language, then the chance for them to be successful in language learning is much bigger. And the second type of motivation is instrumental motivation. So some students, they have very practical reasons to learn the language, to learn the culture of the language. Let's say some of them may want to pass the language requirement test. They want to receive some awards, some rewards, some compliments from the teachers, or to avoid punishments from their parents or the teachers. So they want to learn the language. So compare these two types of motivations. Interactive motivation seems to be the bigger drive for the learner to be successful in their language learning. So in 2000, Brian and Desi classified motivations into two types, intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So with the terms intrinsic motivation, we understand well that this motivation is coming from the inside of the learners, whereas extrinsic motivation is coming from something from the outside factors affecting students' motivation to learn the language. So compare these two types of motivation. As language teachers, language of culture, we would like very much to see that students develop or enhance their intrinsic motivation in language learning and language learning the culture as well. So intrinsic motivation, according to Ryan and Desi, in the year 2000, this construct consists of 4 clusters or 4 categories. If the students are interested in their learning, then their intrinsic motivation may be enhanced. If the relationship between the teachers and the relationship between the students can get better, then the chance for them to be successful in language learning is bigger. It also means that intrinsic motivation will be enhanced, and as a result, the learning outcomes can be better. The next category of intrinsic motivation or cluster of intrinsic motivation is perceived competence. If the teachers can help the students to recognize themselves as competent learners, then the chance for their intrinsic motivation is bigger. And the last component or clusters within the framework of intrinsic motivation proposed by Ryan and C is pressure. Too much pressure is not good for students to develop their intrinsic motivation so as to ensure their language learning or success in their language learning. However, no pressure is also not good for the students. So in this case, in terms of the concept, the construct intrinsic motivation, we may talk about student interest, we may talk about students' relatedness of the relationship between the students and the relationship between the teachers and the students and how they perceive their competence in language performance, and a little bit pressure could be good for them to enhance their intrinsic motivation. So in our English language teaching and teaching the language and the relationship between language and culture, what are some possible causes for the students to be motivated or to be demotivated in their learning? So let me share with you one of the theories proposed by Heider in 1958, the Locust Causality. The Locust Causality refers to the determinants of one's behaviors, and the perceived locus of causality refers to a person's belief about the extent to which his or her actions are determined by the external forces or by the self. So in this case, in the scope of the study, the perceived locus causality relates to what makes the students demotivated or motivated. Is it because of the teachers or is it because of the students who make themselves demotivated in their language learning? And we have two types of locus of causality. The first one is personal causality. For personal causality, it means that one knows very well that he is attributed for the cause. But impersonal causality, it means that one doesn't know that he or she is attributed for the cause. So in this case, some teachers, they never get to know that they are the main reasons for the demotivation of the students. For some other teachers, they know very well that because of themselves, because they teachers have play a role in making the students motivated or demotivated in students' learning. So guided by such a kind of theories and theoretical framework, 2 years ago, I conducted a study related to what causes the school student to be demotivated in their English classes. So this study has 3 aims. The first one, we wanted to find out what causes school students to be demotivated. The second one, we would like to identify which cause is more important or more prominent, personal or impersonal causality. And another research aim is to gain insight into the reason why personal or impersonal causality is more prominent in this study. So to answer or to achieve the 3 research aims, we use the rounding theory in collecting and analyzing the data. And totally, we invited 54 school students and 18 teachers to participate in the study. And we invite the students and teachers from 1 city and 2 provinces in the Mekong Delta. So totally, we conducted 18 focus group interviews and individuals interviews to the students and to the teachers. So after we interview the students and the teachers, the data from the interview were coded and were classified into the concept or the constructs. And then from the construct the concepts, we again analyze them in terms of the theories or the cluster. And finally, we generated the theories. So the procedure for data analysis in this study follow the principles of grounded theories approach or methods in qualitative research. Now, let me share with you the results from the study. So the first results is related to the causes which makes the student get demotivated in their learning. It is something not very positive to talk about the results, because what the students told us and what the teachers shared with us show that students were affected negatively in terms of their relatedness to their friends, to their classmates, and to the teachers. And they don't see any signals of being encouraged to understand that they are competent enough to learn the language. And their interest in language learning, in this case, English language learning, is decreased. So it is something that the teachers, in-service teacher and re-service teacher of English should take into consideration. And also, lessons in English offered by the teachers we have ever interviewed increase the student pressure in their learning. And in light of the grounded theories we used to conduct the study, one emerging theme is that the student trust in teachers' English language proficiency and their knowledge of language and culture and classroom practices and their teachers' work ethics seem to be very low. So it is, I would say that it is a very sad research results, but however, we believe that what we learn from the students is very important for the teachers to look at themselves, especially the student trust in the teachers' knowledge, skills, and attitudes and ethics as well. The second research results is indicated that the secondary school teachers seem to receive the lowest level of trust from the students' participants. And high school teachers were more appreciated by the students' participants. Which causes is more prominent in this study? Personal or impersonal causality. We observe both personal and impersonal causalities, reasons related to this study. For personal causalities, many teachers avoided that. They were attributed for the cause to student low level motivation. So some teachers, they know very well that they are the causes leading to the students' demotivation, but during the talks or during the time they provided the information, they try to avoid that. Teachers themselves make the students demotivated in their learning English and their culture. So the next result, why personal causality to be more prominent in this study? Because in the Vietnamese culture, the power distance index shown in Hofstad 1982 show that the power distance between the teacher and students is very large. It is almost 7.0 out of 1. So if you have a chance to observe any English lessons in the Vietnamese context, you will see that teacher is much more powerful than the students. So usually the students have to listen to the teacher, and sometimes they have to be quiet. They have no chance to voice themselves what they like much about the teacher or how much they appreciate the teacher's work in teaching. And the second reason, which leads to personal causality in this study, is related to face saving. I think that we all understand that teachers want to save their face. So many teachers, they never admitted I make mistakes or aim the course, which leads to student demotivation in their learning. And in this case, many teachers never dare to say that I'm the one who put more pressure on my students. I don't establish good relationship with my students, and I am the one who does not make my students get interested enough in their English lessons as well. So the research, the studies brings about different kind of at least 3 research findings. And from these research findings, we have some reflection on our teaching job of teaching language and teaching culture. The first one is teachers of English or lecturers of English, language and culture. What does the job, teaching job entail? So I reflect on my job as a teacher of English. In addition to offering the students language knowledge and culture knowledge, what else should I have? Should I enlighten my students to learn? Should I inspire my students to take on or to be responsible for their learning and to enhance their intrinsic motivation? The second reflection is related to different kind of institutes, teacher training institutes, colleges or universities, that before we send the teachers of English to jobs, to the job market, what social accountability do we have? How are we going to prepare the teachers of English for the society so that we can make our students become happier? And in this slide, I mean that the teacher know how to make the student motivated in their language and cultural learning. The last reflection, yes, as an in-service teacher professional development provider, what we should do. Let's say I am working at the School of Foreign Languages of Cần Thơ University in Vietnam. Then we are assigned by the Vietnamese government to offer different teachers professional development courses. So what can we learn from this study? How can we help the students to become better teachers so that they can help the students or enhance the student motivation in their learning? It's very important. So I would like also to take this opportunity to thank you, the Faculty of Liberal Arts of the University, because as far as I remember, in the year 2019, the Faculty of Liberal Arts received 6 of my teaching staff, my colleagues, who came to the Faculty of Liberal Arts to develop their professionalism in teaching and conducting research in the field of liberal arts, language and culture. So I would say that it is a very useful, interesting, and we would say rewarding activities for the lecturers of the university to learn, to make themselves, to update their knowledge so that they can gain trust from our students, and they also show their social accountability to help students to increase their intrinsic motivation, which guarantees or ensures the quality of English language teaching and learning. So thank you very much for your listening. And if you have any questions related to relevancies, any questions, I'm more than happy to talk to you now. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Professor, for your speech. For me, it is a very thought-provoking speech. Okay. Now, for the audience, so if you have any question, okay, you can turn on your microphone to ask question, or you can post your question in the comments box below. Okay. Now we have one question from the audience. Okay, Professor, some of the audience asked if they could get the PowerPoint presentation after your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I will send the PowerPoint presentation to the Commons Committee organizers.
Thank you so much.
I'm more than happy to share the PowerPoint slides with you.
Thank you. All right. Well, Professor, for me, I think that the situation in Vietnam and in Thailand, in terms of the students' lack of motivations, are quite similar. So, for you, do you have any suggestions on how can we motivate the students more, or what should the teacher do in order to increase the level of students' motivation?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. I think that for any kind of learning, the students should understand the meaning of their learning. Okay. So in this case, meaningful learning is very important to the students. So the teacher should know what to bring into the classroom, which should be relevant and interesting to the students. So the first one. So in terms of the learning contents, the second activity or action we should do, we need to understand who our students are. Because in this case, then we can get closer to the student, we can develop the relationship with the students. And of course, in terms of teachers' feedback or error correction, it's also very important that we, on the one hand, we help the students to know their strengths and the areas they need to improve. But on the other hand, we also give the feedback that which make the student think that they are competent enough to take on the language learning tasks.
Yes.
And of course, number 4, it is the result of the study. Whenever we enter the classroom, we have to make the students trust in the teachers, just not only in their teachers' work ethics, different values of being a teacher, but also the knowledge of the language, knowledge of the culture, and also knowledge of the context, and especially knowledge of the learners. We need to know who our learners are, is what I just mentioned in the second measures or actions we need to do. So I think that this has lots of implications for colleges and universities who are preparing students to become teachers. And also it has a lot of implications for the universities who provide in-service teacher professional development courses as well. So every day as a teacher, we need to talk to ourselves and to plan some agenda for professional development for ourselves as well. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, next we have the question from the audience, okay? Well, during the pandemic, we rely on online classes. Is it motivating in placing technique different from normal classes?
So thank you very much, because yes, we share, I would say, similar situations between Thailand and Vietnam. During the pandemic COVID-19, it's very important for us to let the student know that they get enough attention from the teacher. So we keep being on different kinds of social media or on Zoom, or in Vietnam, we use Zalo. So sometimes we just send a text to the student, how about the assignment going? How are you going? How are our students going? So then give them enough support to complete their learning and to their finishing the assignments that are assigned by the teachers. Yes. And sometimes we give them the chance to contact the lecturers just in case they cannot understand the lessons or they cannot finish the assignments in time. So in this case, very much I would say we focus on developing the relatedness between the teachers and the students, and developing the relatedness between students and students, and don't put much pressure on the students as well. It is what we did during the time of pandemic COVID-19 in Vietnam.
Well, I do agree. Thank you so much. Now we have one more question. So,
please.
Okay, do you think that learning the student's name and being able to address them personally could help with motivation? Let them know that they and their ideas are valuable.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because I trust that as human beings, we like to get enough attention, and we like to receive the feelings and emotions from the teachers and from other people around us. So getting to know the student's name, even learning by heart, and know more about the student background, their strengths and areas for improvement is very important to make the student motivated in their learning. In this case, intrinsically motivated in their language learning.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now come to my question. I have one more question, Professor.
Please do.
So when you did the research, the results show that the levels of trust for the secondary school teachers are basically lower than the level of trust for the teachers in university. So what will be the factors or why this phenomenon occur?
Thank you very much for your very, I would say, insightful questions.
Thank you.
So let me start with how we used to prepare the teachers of English and English language and culture in Vietnam working for secondary schools. In 1995, when the Americans lifted the embargo against Vietnam, then the need to learn English in Vietnam got much bigger. So at that time, the need to train students to become teachers of English in Vietnam was very high. So during the year 1995 to 2000s, many colleges in Vietnam got the chance to offer the course training teachers of English. So at that time, the Vietnamese government did not manage or control much on the quality of these training institutes. So at least during 2005, 2010, we sent to the society, to the schools, many teachers of English working for the secondary school, who we would say up to this moment were a little bit underqualified to become teachers of English. So it could be understood or understandable that because at that time, the need to have teachers of English working for secondary school was very big. Secondly, you know very well that secondary school students are at the age from, let's say, 13, 14, 15, 16. So they are at the puberty time. They become very critical learners. Moving from childhood to adulthood, from boys, girls to men and women. So they become very critical of what the teachers bring into the classroom. The next reason could be related to the chance for these students to be sent to different private language centers, because parents in Vietnam, in the areas where I conduct these studies, send these children to different private language centers where they got exposed to, I would say, quality teachers teaching English to them. So they had a chance to compare their teachers in these secondary schools teaching English and the teachers working at the private language centers. So they become very critical of what their English teacher do in the classroom.
I see.
They did not perceive the role of the teachers very high. And even they attributed that their demotivation in the English lessons has something related to their trust in the teachers' expertise, in the teachers' teaching methods, and even some of them told me some stories related to teachers' work ethics as well. Thank you very much for your interesting question.
Thank you. Now we have one more question from Dr. Nakorn. All right. So do you think that motivation techniques are culture oriented? Some techniques work in some cultures only?
I think that, thank you very much, Ajahn, for an interesting question. I think for motivation, the construct could be classified as a global construct, but also the global one.
Yeah.
As human beings, we like to develop the good relationships with other people. We learn because we are interested in our learning. Yes, too much pressure is always challenging to everyone. So in general, for the development of intrinsic motivation, we care about the relationship between teachers and students. We care about the student interest. We care about the pressure. We care about, we perceive that we are competent. But in Vietnamese culture, of course, we have different ways to help the student to become motivated in their learning. This is, in addition to trust, as what I mentioned in this study, it is very much related to as a teacher, my interest in getting to know more about my students. My interest in giving the students some compliments so that they think that they are able to go on with the task. I hope that it can answer Ajahn questions, but if he has something to share with me or with us, I'm more than happy to listen to him.
Thank you so much. Okay. For the audience, do you have any other questions?
So I would like to share one more thing with you and in relation to Ajahn Nok's questions.
Thank you so much.
In Vietnamese culture, relationship counts a lot. So if we can establish a good relationship with the students, then the chance for the student to be motivated in the classroom is very big. And it can ensure the success of the students' learning and the happiness of the teachers when teaching the class.
Yes, I do agree, Ajahn. All right, any other questions? All right, Professor, I think there's no more questions. So once again, I would like to thank you for your insightful and thought-provoking speech, okay? I think that for teachers, we need to keep finding the way to facilitate our students, right? So yes, so so it is our great honor to have you here today. So thank you so much once again, Professor Quoc from Kerntel University.
Thank you very much for making me motivated to speak today, because I understand that all of you trust me, give me lots of trust so I can get motivated to speak today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Krab. All right. Now, ladies